Greetings to you all. My name is Dr. Antonia Makina from the Directorate Curriculum Development and Transformation at the University of South Africa. I've spoken to you previously. Another opportunity has, however, been provided to me through the hosting of the online Journal Club events on Research IC to pursue another interesting art, which is literature identification. This is another great honor. To be part of a community of research support that is clearly defined through the online Journal Club. I happily meet you again, having spoken in detail about my experience on how we can simplify the process of reading an article. In research literacy, that includes the art of article reading and is based on the scholarship of teaching and learning. We go further to try and understand how we can identify the literature that we want to use for different purposes that I have previously discussed with you. Therefore, I will at this stage start by sharing with you my literature identification strategies. The following diagram shows some of the ideas I use in identifying literature. In the first one, I use a database. You can use Google or a Google Scholar or many others in the database that you can use for identifying literature. In my second case, I use citation searching, where you comb through bibliographies of relevant articles. In the third case, I use hand searching, that is reviewing tables of contents in key relevant journals. In the fourth case, I use what I call raiding, that is review archives of listservs and other relevant mailing lists. In the fifth case, I use expert polling, that is asking tutors and colleagues, promoters, and those who help you with your research for suggestions. And in the sixth case, and that's recent developments, I use artificial intelligence applications like ChatGPT to try and search for my articles. In summary, it is important to familiarize yourself with artificial intelligence applications and get a pool of articles through the use of technologies that are associated to it. Identify and access appropriate bibliography, research resources, and other sources of relevant information, e.g., some good articles can be a good source of your preferred literature, or use database management to access the literature. The identification of literature normally goes through a very strategic and rigorous process. All the strategies that I've mentioned in the previous diagram must follow this development of a synthesized process that encompasses the route towards the identification of literature. The stages in the process of literature identification include the following. In the first case, you have to present the topic or issue of interest. And in the second case, identify the words or author in the topic or issue. Once you identify the words and authors, then you use either Google or Google Scholar, or in the fourth case, you can identify bibliograph search applications like RefWorks or in the library of any university to then put in those words and topics or issues in so that you are able to pull out and search within the application in the fifth stage using those keys to access your literature. And then lastly, of course, once you've done that, you select the bibliograph of your interest or your bibliograph of choice, and then of course you start with article reading. In some universities, the library systems and services are often provided to students to help in the identification of literature. Often training is provided on how to use them, and for those who still need further help, there are always library consultants who are always at hand. Some applications that can be Googled online can also provide similar services in the name of e-reserves. I pause here to give some examples of how to use some of these applications to identify literature, as opposed to the general e-portals or on how a student at a particular university. I share how a student at a particular university accesses a library catalog. The example I have given below is from the University of South Africa. This is a library catalog. It can only be accessed by a student who is at a particular university. In this case, the University of South Africa. On the extreme left, you can see how now you refine your searches for literature identification. Either you add results beyond your library collection, that is, you can go beyond what you have in your library as a university, or you can say you want to search for full text online only, or you want to search for scholarly and peer-reviewed literature only, or you can of course say I only want what is in the library catalog. And lower down you can see the content type. You can also search using the content type to say, do you want literature from books only, from conference proceedings, from dissertation thesis, or from government platforms? It can also, if you just tick in those boxes, then it will give you what you want. And then the other part is you can also identify by publication date. That is, do you want articles that have been published within a year, within 3 years, within 5 years, within 10 years, and so. And lastly, you can also actually put in just the discipline, your discipline, and the title from that discipline. On the right hand side, you can see some of the results that can come from such searches. You get an article, and this article is coming from a book and it's available here. And then here you can get an article, and that article is coming from a journal for the study of the Old Testament supplements. So you find that perhaps this person was searching for something that was either church history or biblical studies. And then you come here, you find another search that was done is coming from government platforms, and it says a government competition and utility regulator continues the series of annual books published in association with the Institute of Economic Affairs and ... And this comes from an ebook. And then you can see also physical problems solved by the phase integral method. It's also shown here. Now I also go down to share the e-resource portal. It works the same as the library catalog that I've just explained up there. But you can also search by title of the article that the information that you want, or if you have got you've already put an article, a title of an article, you can place the title and article there and then search for what you want. Or you can search by DOI, that I want these articles that are here, PubMed ID numbers, and then you also go and search. Or you can browse the titles of articles using letters of the alphabet. For example, in A, you get all articles that are starting with perhaps authors starting with A, or the article starting with an A, and you continue like that. So this is an e-resource portal, similar to that in the library, but anyone can make use of this one. Now, it is important to note that all searches must be streamlined through some quality processes. I am mentioning just a few of these quality processes. Check that references are recent, because recent references show the associated topic of interest. Older references show that the topic is enduring. The article, check that the article has a high citing rate, and that the referenced people are gurus in the field of your choice. And check that also that there are many who are accessing the issues that you are looking for. There are also your issues that surpass the issues of recent time. If you are writing an article with issues that surpass issues of recent time, older articles can also be cited if they are really key to the study. So you can see that it's not only important to have recent articles, you can also have older articles, provided that your issue of interest, it borders back to whatever is there. I then get into asking the question, what are my frequently used reading strategies? I share with you a diagram here which says article reading is like running upstairs. It is hard, but with a good strategy, it is doable. And then I go down to say, before I start my reading, I always go through some self-reflection or self-reflective questions associated with what I would call the start to read motion. What are these questions? I start with why. Why do I want to read that article? Why do it? And what is the need? The next question is what? What must I read about? Therefore, what literature must I search for? What must I read about? And lastly, how should I get it down? This is how reading now the article, it's important that you read the article. This is then followed by an approach that is underpinned in a 5-stage best practice framework. The framework adopts a rigorous process of unpacking an article in the shortest chosen literature. So, frequently used reading strategies. What I normally do is to search for abstract transparency, summary reliability, methodological summary, results perusal, and critical analysis. Now I'll explain each one of them. In abstract transparency, the main purpose of this stage is to unpack the abstract for its transparency. Transparency is the abstract characteristic of being easy to see through. The synonyms of transparency from the Oxford Dictionary are translucency, lucidity, pellucidity, limpidity, glassness, liquidity, clearness, clarity. Then words that I favor most in this case is glassiness and clearness. So in your abstract or in your main document, you want to see through. So if you do check your abstract, you should be able to see it through. It should be clear. This is to make sure that you call out 3 main issues of the article: the initial purpose, methodology, and the results of the article. Then you go to summary reliability. You identify and call out the objective or purpose, methodology, and results of your study findings, and peruse the main problem questions and the problem statement. And in the methodological summary, you are checking your sample, collection, and analysis of data before you start summarizing your findings, your key findings, or where you also identify the limitations. And then you do the results perusal. How do you do results perusal? Just by you summarize first, but then lastly you must do a critical analysis. A critical analysis is to check issues of relevance to your of interest to you, identify gaps perhaps, and checking alignment to the initial purpose, methodology, and results of the article. And then what I didn't add in this case is a last part that could be there. That could be identifying the nature and relevance of the references. Again, when you are frequently used reading articles, you must also just read the article, the references to see whether they are recent and old. If they are recent, good. If they are old, why? If they are average, also why. Then I've got some documented approaches into reading an article. What I normally do is either I read the whole article. That's one way I can do. Or start with the abstract, read the PDF, the whole PDF, summarize the information with pen and paper, find the information that is of interest to you. So you are reading the whole article, but then you start with the abstract, do the abstract, then you read the whole PDF, and then you summarize that information. And on another note, you might not have to read the whole article, you just read only the abstract and identify the main issues like background, purpose, and so. And then just summarize the whole article using, that's another way you can summarize the whole article using the summary apps or artificial intelligence, and pick your required points of interest. This gets us to the identification of a pedagogy of article reading. The pedagogy of article reading involves the degree to which one facilitates and smooths the article reading process, the speed at which one reads the article, the degree at which one structures the knowledge required from an article, like the aim, the direction of the research, or a preordained, or the degree of quickly identifying a useful or an unuseful article. The last and very important question that I would like to ask now is, how do we organize literature and knowledge as researchers? It is first and foremost important to clarify the importance of literature to a researcher before you can think about how to organize it. Literature establishes the author in-depth understanding and knowledge of their subject field. It gives the background of research, portrays the scientific manuscript plan of examining the research result, illuminates on how the knowledge is changed within the fields. We then have to look at the purpose of the literature review, because it is what guides the researcher into action. The purpose of a literature review, according to the internet, got this from the internet, is to identify new ways to interpret prior research, reveal any gaps that exist in the literature, resolve conflicts among seemingly contradictory previous studies, identify areas of prior scholarship to prevent duplication of efforts. And now I share different ways to organize literature. Different ways to organize my literature, which I use. Sometimes get to the topical order, main topics or issues showing relationships to the main problem or topic, or you do it chronologically in a chronological order. Simplest of all, organized by dates of published literature. Then number 3, you could use problem, cause, solution order. Number 4, general to specific order, known to unknown order, and that is how I make a start to organize my literature. The question is now, how do I organize the information? The use of a flipped classroom in higher education. Scoping review is a title of an article that I chose in my last discussion. So if I had chosen that article, what I'll do is then to look at the main issues there and then say, what are the identified issues? What's the importance in the reading? And you look at every aspect of the main issues. That is the title, abstract, first sentence, purpose of study, problem statement, methodology, summary of results, conclusions, and references. So I go on to show you now how I do it. Another way of organizing the literature information is to create an outline. An outline arranges materials hierarchically and sequentially by identifying main topics, subtopics, and details under subtopics. Outlines allow you to group materials by similar concepts or content and put them in a logical order. One could use a mind map, a flowchart, or a clarity diagram that comes to mind. An example is what I've given here. This is called a clarity diagram. You can just use this to clarify your point. And then I share the first steps to take when organizing a literature analysis. Think about and then interpret a quotation from literature. Next, include the formulation of the viewpoint of the interpretation of the literature. After it is formulated, one should offer supporting evidence for the viewpoint and its interpretation. I normally use many summary applications that are available to the internet. Word also has a facility that allows the summary of an article or any piece of writing that would be of interest to you. So Word, though it's a simple app, it can also do that for you. The summaries can then help one to order the knowledge as one requires. Other applications like RefWorks, etc. can also help to organize the data. It is important to then carry out a critical analysis of the summative interface of the summarized data. The critical analysis always brings out the meaning that is required from the data. Many strategies have always been to look at an article, unpack the abstract, check for the purpose, the problem statement, and the question or hypothesis, the methodology, and finally checking the summative results and conclusion. For example, if too many people have written on a topic, it might happen that all the problems that you are just thinking of have been tackled. So there's no need for you to tackle that issue actually. And that is what I illustrated in that table above, which I've given an example to this table to say that's how you can go about it. I would not be doing you justice if I forget to share with you very important development of the impact of artificial intelligence, AI. Artificial intelligence on scholarly writing and publication is changing the world in ways that have never been found before, and it is impossible to let it go unnoticed. Artificial intelligence tools include ChatGPT, Microsoft, Bard, Google, and many more that can be used to identify, read, and make meaning of literature. Below, I show you a very good example. I'm showing already an example of ChatGPT. And in this example, you can see that what is happening there. There is data. What is fed in is text, is images, is speech, structured data, and signals. And then is trained to go to the foundation model, which reads it out as question answering, sentiment analysis, information extraction, image capturing, object recognition, instructional following. So using this, the applications that are the tools of artificial intelligence, you can actually make it summarize your article for you. You can make it read your article for you. You can actually tell it that you want only this from your article and it will give you. And there are some other tools that you can also use that I'm sharing with you, which I recommend. You can see Connected Papers, Freethinker, Chat OpenAI, Consensus, Betatom, Medium.com, and Freethinker. I think here I've just repeated Freethinker again. So these are very important tools to use. In conclusion, since research development as an emergent discipline and a research field is very much underexplored in higher education, the impact of online journal club on educational research literacy will be key on the global scale as a great innovative signature pedagogy. Although the online journal club initiative derives from the education science domain, its ripple effect can benefit many other stakeholders in other disciplines or researchers of other domains like industry players and government decision makers. The advantage to it all is we share, and together we will win. Thank you.